Joining me on the line, as he does every Friday on the show, ladies and gentlemen, he is from Cinemablend.com. His name is Mike Reyes. And Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, B-sox?
I'm very well. I haven't seen yet the movie that I really want to talk about. Okay, not to beat around the bush, we have a lot to get to on the show today. Obviously, Spider-Man No Way Home is the big one. We're going to save that because we've got a couple other movies to get to. Next week, we actually don't have a show because of the holiday, and I'm taking time off, and I don't care about any part of work at that point.
Holiday break, why would you?
I know, right? So we're going to do a couple movies that are coming out next, Tuesday, you said?
Yes, on Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday. There's a lot of really good movies coming out on Wednesday next week, right?
This whole month, especially these last 2 weeks, we're spoiled for choice, and it's crowded, and I'm afraid certain movies are going to get lost in the shuffle because of Spider-Man and maybe some others, but like even Matrix, which I haven't seen and we will not be discussing this week, even that seems to be like kind of iffy at this point because you've got all these other movies coming out.
I think Matrix is going to be one of those ones, and just if I'm going by what the last two Matrix were, I feel like it's going to be one of those movies where you either love it or you hate it.
That's exactly what someone was saying way, like a couple months ago when there was apparently like a low-key test screening.
Yeah.
They said that it gets so meta and it goes so out there that it's either a love or hate. But yeah.
I know, right?
I think if anything, I think the reason Warner Brothers hasn't pushed is because, first of all, it's Matrix. You can't push a Matrix movie.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I think they want to use it as their last big HBO Max victory before they go back to theatrical next year. Because, yes, kids, when you turn that calendar to 2022, Warner Brothers is back in theatrical exclusivity. They signed a deal with AMC a while back where it's like they have to run the movies in theaters for 45 days before it goes to any streaming. So the simultaneous experiment is over, and I'm going to kind of miss it for the sheer fact that it makes it so much easier to watch movies for the show.
Yeah.
Especially because Matrix, I couldn't get to a Matrix screening because I was away in London last week.
Yeah.
And then this week's screenings, between this week and next week, it's like I have holiday stuff to do and there's other movies I need to catch up on.
Oh, yeah, there's life going on around me, not just the Matrix. But you bring that up, and that makes me sad because there's a lot of movies I've watched this year that I would never go to the theater to watch.
Oh, because of streaming?
Yeah, well, not just because of streaming. It's just they're not like Kong. And that's not to make fun of the movie or anything, because we've had that.
But that's not really your thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know what? I'll throw that on streaming and watch it real quick. That's no big deal.
Once you drop the level of investment, the opportunity raises, and also it does get. Look, these studios are going to have
That's the long and short of it. And for a movie that I wouldn't. It's like, you know what? I really don't want to go pay $30 to go to this movie. I'll just watch it here. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. We really did go into a territory we weren't planning. We were going to be like, okay, we're doing just reviews today. We're not doing news. And then, of course, right out of the gate, we're sidetracked. So it goes like that sometimes.
We're so good at that.
All right, we're going to save the Spider-Man stuff to the very end.
So many other movies are coming out. Everyone knows about Spider-Man. We need to. Well, no, that's just kind of showmanship too. It's like save it to the end, big talk.
Yeah, we don't need to we don't need to do that. It's just, you know what? That's the way it is. Spider-Man's the big one, and that's the one we're going to spend the most time with. So we'll get to it in a second. Next, so we've got 3 other movies we're going to talk about. Matrix, you haven't seen yet. We'll probably talk about that once we come back after the holiday. But the one I'm most interested here is The Kingsman. Is that a good? Wait. Is that a good or a bad?
I want you to guess, because those of you that do read my work over at Cinemablend.com know exactly how I feel about this, but I want you to guess very quickly.
It's good.
Oh, it's good. Oh, man. All right. So, if you like the Kingsman movies...
I don't read Mike Reyes.
If you like the Kingsman movies, you're going to like The Kingsman. It's basically... This one dials down the silliness a little bit, and because it's dealing with very real history. Like, this is a prequel that goes into the beginning of World War One.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got actual historical figures and actual events represented in here. And it's basically the formation of the Kingsman Agency through the efforts of Orlando, the Duke of Oxford, played by Ralph Fiennes, who now basically has played Bond and M on screen. And it is beautiful seeing that man go to work in these stunts. But yeah, I mean, everything you would expect with a Kingsman movie is still here. Matthew Vaughn is still, turning the wheel on this thing, and it's gorgeous. He's got plans for more Kingsman movies. There's another Kingsman coming. There's this whole universe that's waiting, and all that needs to happen is people need to go see this movie.
You want to know the exact moment I knew I'd love this movie?
What?
When they were showing in the one R-rated trailer, it was Rasputin, and he said something to the effect of, "I don't make decisions
unless my stomach is full and my balls are empty."
I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm going to use that at some point. So it's as outrageous and as naughty and as wonderful as you would expect. So go. That's Wednesday, correct?
Yes, that is Wednesday the 22nd.
All right. Also coming out Wednesday, Sing 2.
I want you to guess what I thought of this one. Oh, wait, you can't because I already talked to you about this.
Yeah,
no,
you did.
cheating.
Yeah, and I'm not going to read your work. I'll promote the crap out of it, Mike, but I'm not going to read it. I talked to you. I don't need to put myself through that once.
Merry Christmas.
Just that I am going to use on somebody this year.
Oh, you got to.
All right.
Okay. So, Sing 2.
Yeah, give us a quick breakdown. I'm not overly into the Sing movie. I've seen it, but it didn't change my world like it did some people.
I'm totally into the Sing movies. And the big reason is both Sing movies are about a group of people that, they have performance talents, but they have a lack of faith. They play that card again and Sing 2. But the big difference is this time they're all working in like a Vegas-like review where basically they have to get this absent pop star played by Bono to come into their show. Otherwise, this mafia wolf is going to kill the koala boy. So it's another jukebox musical where people need to dig deep into themselves and find their inner performer. And the way that this thing keeps up the pace, it's especially in the third act where it's just this huge, big showstopper. And kids' movies love to be colorful, and you got to be colorful, and you got to keep the energy going with a kids' movie. And no matter what you do, sometimes that can get annoying. This movie did not get annoying for me, and it is hyper colorful. I cannot wait to go see this in 3D because it looked fantastic in 2D.
Cool.
And it was just hearing Bono sing "Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For." I'm not a diehard U2 fan, but I like their music well enough. There was something about that moment in the movie that really did work.
I just had a really weird thought about U2.
Oh, I'm thinking about U2 as well.
U2 is like the Matrix of the movie world or of the music world. Very meta. And
the outfits only prove that even more.
The outfits and people either love them or hate. Either love or hate U2.
I like U2, but they all right. They use the songs of U2 rather well in the movie, and I'm surprised that I'm able to say this, but I think Scarlett Johansson is a low-key MVP in this movie, and part of it is because of her performance of U2 songs. Like, she sings. There's a big emotional moment where she's trying to get Bono's character to, have a talk with her.
Yeah.
So she starts singing "Stuck in a Moment," and she did it really well.
I like ScarJo. She's
really good. Everyone's really good in this. Although I still want to know why Seth MacFarlane's Mike the Mouse didn't return, but that's neither here nor there. Sing 2 it's great for kids, but honestly, the selection of songs that they put together for this, and the humor that they throw into this and the heart, it really is something where adults are not going to mind watching it.
All right. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line. Real quick, we'll touch on Nightmare Alley. This is out today, right?
It is.
What do we know about Nightmare Alley? Other than, I believe you're quoted as writing something along the lines of "it's Awesome, but I may be misquoting you.
That was my first 50 drafts, but they made me change it because I can't swear excessively on the site. So
Oh,
I
okay.
would say
My
it's
mistake.
awesome, but yeah. So Nightmare Alley is not so much a remake, but a reinterpretation of a 1946 novel. And I've been reading like Guillermo del Toro's approach to the whole thing. Apparently there's so much to this book that you could approach it so many different ways. And the way that he approaches it this time is it's about a man named Stanton Carlyle, played by Bradley Cooper. He wanders into a carnival and starts taking up mentalism.
Oh, this is that movie.
Yeah, and then he starts getting in with the wrong people and pushing his luck a little too far. And it's everything I wanted. It is like Guillermo del Toro understands noir.
Yes.
He and his co-writer Tim Morgan understand noir. It's not just some cheap imitation. I think I read in an interview where he said, noir is not just Venetian blinds or a husky voiceover. Like you've seen so many imitations of this that if you imitate it the right way, it's hysterical. Like if you're really trying to make fun of it, yeah, but when you're trying to play it serious, that it can come off as a joke if you're not careful. This is fantastic.
I just had a thought, like, what if the Naked Gun movies were actually noir that they were trying to do serious, but they just it up?
I think that's pretty much what the Naked Gun movies were. Like they were spoofed on noir, and Leslie Nielsen and the Zuckers play it so brilliantly by hiding jokes in the background or like playing things so straightly that it works. Like that's the type of parody I'm talking about. Like they understand what a noir is. Leslie Nielsen understood to just, like a midget at a urinal. I was going to have to stay on my toes.
Nice, Beaver.
Understood that thanks, I just had it stuffed. They understood that if you don't ask for the laugh, you ask for the moment, and the laugh just comes with it.
Oh, God. Man, do I miss Leslie.
I do, too, and I'm still hoping Liam Neeson does that Naked Gun reboot.
All right, so back to Nightmare Alley real quick. This is the one with William Dafoe in it, too, right?
Well, yeah, one of two movies with Willem Dafoe in it this weekend.
Oh, he's just...
Willem Dafoe's a f***ing delight. Ron Perlman's in here, David Strathairn, Toni Collette, Kate Blanchett. I don't know how Kate Blanchett was born in our time, because the woman just looks like she belongs in one of those movies in the 40s.
Yeah.
But it's so rich and lush, and go see it.
All right, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line to talk about movies. All right, let's get to the big one this week, Spider-Man No Way Home. Until we kind of get to, I don't want to dive into too many spoilers, and I know that sounds crazy coming from me, but I don't want to ruin too much of it, and I definitely want there to be a hard, hey, if we're going to talk about spoilers, we're going to give a warning about it. So, spoiler-free at this point, what did you think?
I thought it was really good. I think it's better than, as much as I like Far From Home, I think this is better.
Okay.
I think I may need to watch it again because honestly, the screening I was at last night, I had to go for 3D. It was not calibrated properly for the first 15 minutes, so that pissed me off. And you got so many other people talking and on their phones, and people brought their toddlers, and the theater was so warm, and I'm just thinking to myself, I do not miss a packed theater experience. At least not like that.
You had to sit with the peasants like the rest of us, huh?
I don't mind sitting with a crowd, but the thing is, this crowd felt more disjointed than usual. And It's like, come on, guys, it's Spider-Man. I know we've been cooped up for so long, but did we forget how to be in a movie theater? But anyway. But that being said, this is a crowd movie. I just wish the crowd was a little more reverent of the scenario. But anyway, it's good. I think I do want to go see it again because I feel like there's just so much that movies like this, I feel like you need to watch them twice because there's so many expectations and so much that we bring to the table the first time that we don't really get to see the movie totally like as it is. Even just on a first impression, it's a tight movie. It's such a complicated thing to look at because on one hand, I was thinking to myself, this is a really tight Spider-Man movie. It's probably the most serious one. Like, they're not playing up the, hey, I'm a kid and I'm in Europe, or hey, I'm a kid and I'm making my way through freshman year. Like, this is, Peter Parker has to reckon with choices that he has made, and he is starting to really understand the responsibilities of being Spider-Man. I like that the story has evolved to a point where we can put that weight on on Tom Holland's shoulders, and he carries it rather well. And the Rogue, and on top of that, movies like this are, I feel like comic movies are starting to get to a point where there's a little bit of, you got to give the fans what they want sort of built into it.
Yeah.
And when you're bringing people like Doc Ock and the Green Goblin and Electro back into the fold, that sort of plays towards that angle. But the way that this movie does it and the performance of everyone, we now have a movie where Willem Dafoe gets a scene with Alfred Molina, and they're talking about their Spider-Man experiences as villains and such. You've got Jamie Foxx doing this beautiful thing with Electro in this universe, and just his performance in this is really good. Willem Dafoe is definitely an MVP because seeing Norman Osborn back and the way that they shade his character is just beautiful.
You know who I didn't know was in it until a little bit ago? I knew that they were having Sandman back, but I didn't know what's his name was actually in it. Thomas
they got
Jane?
Thomas Hayden Church back.
Yeah.
They got Thomas Hayden Church back.
Thomas Jane. Who the hell is that?
Huh? Oh, okay. So no, that's a sidebar. But let's just say if we could get a Thomas Jane, John Bernthal Punisher multiverse, that'd be wonderful. But
anyway. Yeah. I know who. Okay. I was like, what? It's like, why do that name? I know it's an actor, but I was like, it's not the right one.
They even got Reese Ifans back to play Lizard. Like they got all the villains back, and that is part of why I like this so much, is because the villains are given so much charm and opportunity to really there's a very powerful statement about how heroes deal with villains in here, and that's another sort of choice that Peter has to make.
Okay.
This also reminded me how much I miss Doctor Strange movies. Full-on Doctor Strange movies.
Real quick, just to kind of wrap up the spoiler-free part of this, I don't think it's wrong to say that from what we've seen in the trailers, there is a lot going on in this movie. And that seems to be kind of the bane of a lot of superhero movies, is when they have too much going on, like too many villains, too many, plot lines, too many, just too much of everything. How did that kind of weave together?
Surprisingly well.
Okay.
Like, I still think that if you look at this movie a certain way, it's just a simple vehicle to give fans what they want, to give them multiverse, to give them another Spider-Verse in a sense.
Okay.
But that being said, it doesn't, like, all the villain stuff. Like, there's a really interesting thread that they use to tie all the villains together with Spider-Man. And then, of course, all the other pitfalls of his life, like he's trying to make things better for MJ and Ned, and, still the balancing of Spider-Man's life with his career.
Okay.
Is something that very much is present in here. And I walked out of this thinking that this felt like, you remember the Doctor Who special, The Day of the Doctor?
Which one was that?
The 50th anniversary where
John Hurt came back?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
In a certain way, this movie felt like that because of all these multiverses coming together. And just it really is. I think this may be the best Marvel movie of the year, and it's just edging out Shang-Chi.
Okay.
But yeah, I really did enjoy this, and whenever we get a chance to talk about spoilers, there's so much more I want to talk about because, oh man.
All right, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line. Real quick, I don't want to dive too far into the spoilers, but here after the beep, and I'm going to put in a beep, after the spoil, we're going to talk about a few of the spoilers. I don't want to do everything, but we'll give you a few seconds that if you want to end here, end here. All right, Spider-Man No Way Home. We're going to talk, like I said before the beep, we're going to talk about a few of the spoilers. I don't want to give away everything, but... I saw one guy that this how it all started for me was I watched a review of it the other night, and he said there's going to be a couple spoilers in here, and then it was I happened across YouTube in a playlist of like everything from the movie. I've essentially seen all the highlights of the movie, but I think he did say it well. He goes, everything that we had talked about this movie having in it is in it, correct?
Pretty much.
It looks fantastic. I've seen the scene where Andrew and Toby make their way back in.
I love that. Dude. Okay. So Andrew Garfield steps in first big applause moment. Like, well, not, I don't know if it was the first big, but it was a big applause moment. And I just remember sitting there thinking I may not have liked those movies all too terribly, but Andrew Garfield was never the problem. And this was the proof, because this was the proof, besides Jamie Foxx being really good as this universe's spin on, well, as Electro.
Yeah.
It's not this universe, it is the Electro, but the way that they use those characters, and then he gets, I don't remember if we were talking about the MJ falling scene.
Yeah.
And how that would be, that whole thing. It works. It works because they give him that whole thread of like, I couldn't save her.
Yeah.
And then he saves her and just has a moment. And it's like, that got me, because it's like, man. And then Toby coming back.
Toby's like the old man of the group, isn't he?
Yeah, and just like, I love how he has this moment where Andrew Garfield's looking at Tom Holland and Zendaya, like having a moment, and then she and Toby are talking while they're working on some science stuff, and he's like, you got someone back home? And he's like, no, I did. And then he goes to Toby and he's like, you? And he's like, it's complicated, but we made it work out, me and MJ. And I'm like, yes! Like, it didn't feel like fan service because the characters were there. We're given these moments with these characters that we know their universes and we know their personalities, and they're allowed to use that. There's one part in the big final fight sequence where they kind of pause for a moment. There's a couple moments where they pause for a moment and let the Spider-Man be Spider-Man together.
Yeah.
Any other movie, that would have probably fallen short.
I saw the scene where they're saying it up there. I don't want to brag, but I was in the Avengers. That's great. What are the Avengers?
Are you in a band?
Andrew Garfield's, yeah, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
I started saying Garfield and it didn't sound, another one like the Thomas Jane thing earlier. His stuff just seemed really funny and real well done.
Yeah.
So
it's just such a redemption of the characters, even when they don't need to be redeemed, like Tobey Maguire. Just, to see him back in a spider suit and to see him talking about all this, it just, talking about the movie makes me feel even better about it, just because there's fan service, and then there's, I really like these movies and I want to pay tribute to them.
This is one of those things, you see all the stuff that they put into this, and including like the Daredevil stuff, because you had, what's his name, earlier this week. You had, oh wait, have you seen Hawkeye yet?
No.
Okay.
But I heard that, well, I didn't hear, but I'm thinking Wilson Fisk is back.
Yeah.
Because you also saw in the movie, Charlie Cox is back as Daredevil, and I was like, I've only watched an episode of this show, but I'm happy to see you.
I like the saying. He goes, "How did you do that?" I'm a really good lawyer.
Really good lawyer.
All right,
it's so beautiful.
It just seems like one of those movies, and I'm really excited to see it, even though I've basically seen it already. It just seems like they could have done this type of story very wrong, but this is one of the few times that a studio really did it right.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, this is Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios on the top of their game. And like I said, the more I'm reflecting on this and the more I'm talking about it, the more I really like this movie. Like Spider-Man has always been a character that ever since that first movie came out, I've always really latched onto Peter Parker. And, you know, I grew up as like a smart kid by, you know, school standards.
Yeah.
So, you know, Peter Parker graduated from high school the first time on screen when I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
And it was all about this smart kid who may not have been that popular, but had a good heart and just lucked into the jackpot and had to struggle with, okay, I have these powers. What do I do with it? That always struck a chord with me. And no matter who's played Spider-Man, I've always identified with that sort of earnestness and always been drawn to that. So this is kind of like a huge celebration of all things Spider-Man, but it's not just, we're going to throw these things in for fun. It's like, no, they found a way to do it that it is important to the story.
I do take a little bit of pride in one of my theories coming true.
Which theory is that for the folks at home?
The one where I was like, what if the first time Tom Holland really talks about Uncle Ben is with all the other Spider-Men?
Yeah. Oh, and then after what happens?
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil that part. We'll leave that part out. But
I like that they made Uncle Ben new again.
Yeah.
They made the trauma of Uncle Ben new again because we don't see him lose Uncle Ben, but we hear about it from the other two Spider-Men.
Yeah.
And they find a way to even make great power, the concept of great power and great responsibility fresh again. And it was also nice to see, I don't remember if this was exclusive to the video game or if it's in the comics, but I like seeing Feast being represented.
Yeah,
like Aunt May's mission. I like seeing that represented in the movie.
Yeah, that's got a couple. It's a big deal in the most recent two video games. But it's in the comics as well as in stuff. So
yeah.
But anyways, all right. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me to talk about Spider-Man and other things. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm going to see it this coming weekend. The wife and I are going. So
I can't wait to talk with you about it, man.
Awesome. Mike, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you after the holiday. Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, whichever
Merry
one
Christmas. I celebrate Spider-Man Day.
Yeah, really? I mean, that's for some people it is. So
Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas. Everybody just go out, have a happy New Year, have a happy everything. Just go. Be happy, please, for us.